Welcome to So That Was a Movie. In honor of Ambulance, we all ranked our own individual top 10 Jake Gyllenhaal movies, and I aggregated them all together and combined them. I know everybody's list and the aggregate list, but everybody here, they only know their own list. Everybody had a pretty different list. We'll see.
Number one better be the same.
We'll see. Starting the list off at number 10, Jarhead. Now,
Sheesh.
2 people had this on their list. The highest spot was 4. Number 9, Source Code. Now, 1 person ranked this movie on their list. They put it at number 1. So, we'll find out who that fellow is soon enough. Number 8, End of Watch.
Great.
2 people ranked this movie. The highest spot it was given was number 3. Number 7, Nocturnal Animals. 2 people ranked this movie. Wonder who those 2 could be. I know the answer, and I'm pretty sure Christian does. He technically doesn't, so whatever.
I think I do.
The highest spot it got was 3.
This list.
Number 6, Southpaw. This movie was on 3 people's lists. Its highest spot was number 2. Number 5, Brokeback Mountain. This movie was on 2 of our lists. Its highest spot was number 1. Number 4, Nightcrawler. This movie was on everybody's list. The highest it was rated was 4th. It's also the overall 4th.
Yeah. It got to where it wanted.
Number 3, Brothers. All 4 of us ranked Brothers. The highest we ranked Brothers, number 3. That's awesome.
Okay.
Top 2. Number 2 was Zodiac. The highest Zodiac was ranked was number 2. So a kind of common theme in the last 3.
I see.
Which leaves number 1 spot was Prisoners. Everybody ranked Prisoners. The highest it was ranked, number 1 by 2 people. So that was kind of the consensus number 1 and also the most common number 1 amongst the 4. Any surprises?
I'm kind of surprised that Donnie Darko is not on the list.
Yeah, that's actually a great
I
point.
am
know.
too.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was on the list, but Christian changed his list last minute and that affected it. Vaulted Jarhead into number 10 and kicked Donnie Darko out of number 10.
Nice.
So every minute matters.
Yeah.
I personally think it's an interesting one. I think it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I dig it. I admit there is one movie on this list I have not seen. End of Watch.
Really?
I
Really?
figured I would save that discussion until we got to it.
2 movies on this list I have not seen. Source Code and Brokeback Mountain.
Me and Trevor have seen all 10 of these movies, which makes us clearly better than the rest, and much smarter at doing movies good. So, just want to throw that out there. We are the experts on this channel.
I don't know who you're trying to convince, me, you, or them.
Now we're going to run through and fill out everybody's lists. Number 10.
Number 9.
Number 8.
Number 7.
Number 6.
Number 5.
Number 4.
Number 3.
Number 2. Number 1. We had 17 movies total. We'll go from bottom to the top, briefly talk about all these movies. At the bottom of the list was October Sky. I had that on my list, and I had it really high. I had it number 10.
Hey.
I ultimately went with October Sky because I just like the classic feel of it, and I kind of like the fact that it highlights Jake Gyllenhaal as more of a younger actor, pretty inspirational.
Which is exactly where we found that rocket, Mr. Turner.
A lot of these 90s movies like that kind of get crapped on nowadays, but I really enjoy that movie as a vibe, and it's about some interesting thing like space. Next, The Day After Tomorrow. Trevor had this on his list.
I really like The Day After Tomorrow because I love Roland Emmerich movies because I can turn off my brain and have a great time. And that's what that movie allows you to do. And Jake Gyllenhaal has never once phoned in a performance, so the entire time that the world is going to complete crap, he is losing his mind and saying, everybody's got to get into the library. We've got to save this little dog, this little small woman. We've got to save her from every single disaster that ever happens, ever happening all at once. Great movie. It's fun.
He walks to New York.
Oh, babe.
Yeah, he walks to New York. Great movie.
Next, we have Stronger. Me and Christian saw this together. We're the only 2 people here who've seen it. I really like the vibe of this movie. I find it pretty inspirational, and you get Jake Gyllenhaal doing like a personal kind of character work. I feel like most people haven't seen it, and I think it's worth a watch.
I do too, and I feel like had he gotten award recognition for it, which he received none, one of his best performances, I'd say.
Show up! Yes! Show up!
I showed up! I was standing there for you!
Oh,
and look where that got me! I can't do it! Why do you even want me?
Then we have Spider-Man Far From Home. This was on 2 lists here, Hunters and Trevor's. He plays Mysterio, and he's definitely the best, most interesting part of the movie.
I love his performance in that. I actually think it's the highlight of the movie.
Quentin Beck.
Somebody get this stupid costume off me!
I don't know how he's so good at playing a good guy and then he's secretly a bad guy.
Jake Gyllenhaal's never been involved in anything where he was in the wrong ever, especially in minds of public opinions. He has a scarf. It's gotta be.
Oh, you're going on about that Taylor Swift.
He still has it. That's one of those controversies that I remember just all too well. It's just so familiar. The Good Girl was on Kristen's list. I really wanted to put it on my list, but I'm going to let him talk about it.
I wanted to put it on mine too.
Mostly a Jennifer Aniston movie. However, Jake Gyllenhaal is like the second lead. He plays this guy who works with her at this boring retail store, and then he becomes kind of obsessed with her, and she basically just wants to poison him after a while. I don't know. It's a really weird, quirky, but also original, and it's good. Written by Mike White, who has made some really good stuff.
A really underrated movie, I think. And another one that I watched because it's one of Christian's favorites, and I remember watching it at his parents' house with him in high school.
I'm a writer, so.
Next we have Sisters Brothers, and Hunter was the only one to rank this movie. I have not seen it. What did you like about Sisters Brothers?
The way he just worked with John C. Reilly in it was really good. They actually worked pretty dang well together.
Yeah, and it's Joaquin Phoenix too, right? There's 3 of them.
The Sisters Brothers!
You should have done voice acting on that. I think so many more people would have wanted to go watch it.
Hey! This is the Sisters Brothers!
They have one sister, and 3 of them are her brothers. The Sisters Brothers!
We're the Sisters Brothers.
They're brothers, but they're called sisters.
Sisters.
Sisters Brothers.
Forgetting something. We are the Sisters Brothers.
Just picturing this right.
This is nonsense. Like sisters.
Available on DVD, November 26th.
That's the most fun anyone's ever had with Sisters Brothers.
Next we have Donnie Darko.
I know someone that's going to be really happy that Donnie Darko didn't make it on this list.
I know one.
I've got to say, your brother and our colleague and friend Landon Receiver would definitely have thoughts on Bryce and I having Donnie Darko on our list.
He hates Donnie Darko with passion.
I just have to say, sometimes I doubt your commitment to sparkle motion. I've been waiting a week for that.
I feel like Donnie Darko is one of those movies you either absolutely love or just hate the crap out of it.
Were you there for that?
Yeah.
You were there for that.
Yeah.
Okay, because I remember Landon went off for like 30 minutes.
After it was
Landon
did
over.
go off.
And I just kind of sat there.
28 days, 6 hours, 42 minutes, 12 seconds. That is when the world will end.
Why?
Next we have Source Code, and the only person that ranked it was Trevor. Had it number 1.
What I love about Source Code is that even though there's a supporting cast of Vera Farmiga,
Michelle Monaghan.
it's basically like a one-man show of just him acting, but he's acting as someone else. It's a really interesting like sci-fi movie. It's weirdly sci-fi and like a crime mystery movie, and it all takes place on a train for the most part. It's a really interesting concept where he just keeps coming back to life, and he's got to find out where this bomb that blew up on this train in the past, he's going back, he's trying to figure it out. It's really interesting, and the ending, unbelievable.
What would you do if you only had a minute left to live?
Then we have Jarhead. That was on Christian and Hunter's list.
The reason I like this movie is the first time I saw it, probably wasn't the best person to watch it with, but it was with my dad.
Me too.
When it first came out, he told me not to tell Mom that we're watching this movie, because obviously it has a couple scenes that are not...
Mom would not approve.
One involving a Santa hat.
I also went into it the same way when I was younger, where I was like, oh, this is going to be a war movie. I was like, I've seen Jake Gyllenhaal before. He's going to be a badass. This is going to be great. And then I was like, oh, they're talking about their feelings and PTSD.
Yeah.
I remember watching that in my basement. I had the volume up fairly high, but I was kind of watching it by myself. Now back when I was in like high school or middle school, every time some crazy sex scene would come on, I would be like looking over my shoulder like,
appreciate cinema.
I'm getting into it.
this is what I've been missing.
Are you eyeballing me with those baby blues? Are you? Sir, no, sir. Are you in love with me, Swafford?
Then we have End of Watch. This was on Hunter and Trevor's list.
The perfect way to describe it, where it's a group of guys will watch it, or a guy will come up to you and be like, have you seen End of Watch? Man, you gotta see it. It's awesome.
Like, oh.
Yeah, and then you sit down and watch it, and you're like, oh, it's awesome. And then you go up to someone and you're like, have you seen End of Watch?
Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's awesome.
Yeah.
Younger Michael Pena, and like right before he like really broke onto the scene, and he does great. Jake Gyllenhaal does great. It's shot really well.
I think it's 4 stars from Roger Ebert as well.
Is it really? Wow.
Yeah, it was one of the last ones.
Roger Ebert came out and he was like, yo, bro, have you seen End of Watch?
The thing about the End of Watch is beginning to up close to the end, I was like, yeah, this is an awesome movie. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
And then that thing happened.
You gotta see it.
I was like, oh shit.
It's like, it's literally a buddy cop movie. All the way through and through. And it's great performances, and it's great direction. Gets to the end, it hits you like a ton of bricks.
Then we have Nocturnal Animals, which was on me and Christian's list. That's another one me and Christian saw in the theater, Nocturnal Animals. And that movie I fell in love with also. That's another one that Landon hates as well.
First 5 minutes. Stick with it, really.
Landon did not like the fact that it was kind of a metaphor and everything. So he just could not get past that because stuff that was in the metaphor is so damn good and interesting that once you realize it's a metaphor, he was pissed off.
You're not supposed to leave a scene of an accident. It's a crime.
After the way you were driving?
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
Just the way you were driving was crazy.
Let's exchange information.
Exchange information.
All right, get out of the glove compartments.
Okay, I'm a Gemini. My favorite color's petal pink. I like long walks and kittens.
Then we have Southpaw, which was on almost all of our lists. It got cut at the very last minute from Christian's list, but it was on all three lists. But yeah, tough conversation. I love boxing movies in general just because of the way that they can operate as movies and be inspirational and be about somebody's personal struggle and stuff. Through literally fighting in a ring. That's why they always kind of work out really well. And this is Jake Gyllenhaal, one of the best actors we have working today, and it's his boxing movie. I love the soundtrack on it, and it's just a movie that gets you hyped up on it.
Yes.
I was listening to Kings Never Die, phenomenal. Wait, here.
Rachel McAdams looks great in it.
That's
So does Jake Gyllenhaal, Lordy. Yeah,
Jake Gyllenhaal shredded in that movie.
Then we have Brokeback Mountain.
His only Oscar nomination. Still not been nominated since 2006.
Pretty sick.
Yeah. I did choose it as my number 1 because it's not a movie I've always loved, but I rewatched it like a year or 2 ago, and I was like, this is incredible. For years, all this talk about it's bullshit, losing Best Picture and all that. Yeah, it is. It's a masterpiece, really. I do feel like it's more of Heath Ledger's movie, but Jake Gyllenhaal is also really good in it. I'll also shout out Michelle Williams, who, like Gyllenhaal, should have an Oscar and is great in that movie.
Ang Lee only makes great movies.
He did make Hulk. But after that, he made Brokeback Mountain, so it's okay.
Wait, he made Hulk and then Brokeback Mountain?
Yes.
Wow.
I would like to say Michael Jordan, 97, 98.
You are too much for me, ass. I wish I knew how to quit you.
Then why don't you?
Then we have Nightcrawler. The peak of my Jake Gyllenhaal fandom was back in 2014 when Nightcrawler came out. It was one of the first kind of movies that me and Christian saw together. I didn't truly love movies yet, but that was one of the movies that I remember seeing in theaters early on where I was like, yep, these are awesome. And he was so damn good in that. When the Oscar nominations came out, the first time I ever probably really cared about them wasn't on the list, and I was like, what?
Yeah.
I was like, these awards are stupid. And they still.
This is the same group that thought Coda was the best movie of the year. I mean, what are we talking about here? In terms of a best performance, I think his magnum opus is Nightcrawler. It's brilliant. That is act.
That's why it's number 4.
Yeah. I really like the movie too, but the performance is the movie in my opinion.
I think, I feel like it might be the same thing.
We have Brothers. For whatever reason, I did not know it really existed until like 3 or 4 years ago when I watched it. And when I did, it was incredible, and it was one of my favorite movies. It was my favorite movie of that year. I remember just watching it for the first time in the basement, and once it gets to the end and how it plays out, the lie that happens that gets believed at the end, I was like punching my walls and stuff because it's just so well done with the emotions. Everything is on point. You genuinely feel like you understand everybody's characters and how everybody's feeling in this really messed up situation. Jake Gyllenhaal plays a really big part in all of that. You just feel so visceral after seeing it where you're like, how does more people not love this movie? And it was one of those where I was like, okay, you've got to watch this, you've got to watch this, you've got to watch this. Just the whole dynamic of the brothers element. There are no sisters in this.
There's a sister-in-law.
But no sisters. The sisters' brothers were not hers. It just hits you. I recommend everybody watch it, and I think it's one of the most underrated movies of all time.
I had just never seen Tobey Maguire like that before either, and so it was also really great to see.
And Natalie Portman is phenomenal.
I was gonna say it's a trio of really great.
It's an amazing movie.
And honestly, Bailey Madison is really good.
Oh yeah, she's
a very underrated child actor.
Yeah, she's really good.
We had Zodiac on our list. Overall movie, you could argue that this is his best movie that he's been in. Fincher is insane in terms of like his track record and everything, and the fact that this is about the Zodiac killer makes it that much more interesting. It's 3 hours pretty much, but every hour is just so compelling. You know that they don't discover him because it's about the Zodiac killer, but literally every minute of that movie you're like, oh, I wonder how they're going to catch this guy. You know, it's just so tense and everything like that.
I need to revisit it. I watched it when I was in like the 5th grade with my parents. Who would have thought?
That's such a you thing.
They say that after Zodiac, he was just kind of broken. Why is that?
David Fincher made him do 99 takes of certain scenes, and that just kind of broke him because David Fincher wasn't going to say stop, and that was good, and Jake Gyllenhaal wasn't going to say stop, that was good, so they just kept going and kept doing takes, and that's why he looks insane in Zodiac, and everything after that, he's like, I've got to do something where I'm crazy, or I've got something messed up, or I've got to do a weird performance, I've got to look weird. Amazing Robert Downey Jr. before he becomes Iron Man, right before he becomes Iron Man.
The other movie on our list was Prisoners, our overall number 1. Ryan is definitely the biggest proponent of Prisoners in our friend group. Now basically everybody in our friend group thinks Prisoners is the greatest movie of all time, kind of vibes, and it is really awesome, so I'm not disagreeing with it.
If we were doing top 10 of the Hugh Jackman, it would definitely be a number 1 for me.
Incredible movie. I watched it again last Thanksgiving. It's so dark.
I'm always on the edge of my seat when I'm watching it.
Yeah.
Also, want to briefly mention City Slickers. He was in that movie, but obviously he's barely in it, and he's literally a child. He's literally just happens to be Billy Crystal's son, but also a great movie. Bubble Boy was not on our list, even though I wanted to put it on our list.
Did no one have Prince of Persia on?
No, I like that movie though. I do.
That's what you were about to bring up earlier, right? After I watched the movie, I bought the game on the Wii.
The Wii?
Yeah. It was so fun.
Yeah, so did I.
It was
Yeah,
so
I know.
fun.
Literally, they brought that up earlier, and I was like, yeah, but the video game.
I'm sure they're all doing like Persian face in it, but it's fine.
I haven't seen Enemy, and I really want to see that.
And that's when I really want to revisit. You reach the ending, and you're like, well, what was that? And yeah, Bryce and I had a fun time at the movie Life. That's not to say the movie was good by any stretch of the imagination, and he was not good in it.
We want to hear from you all. We want to know, did we leave anything off that you really like? What are some of your number 1 Jake Gyllenhaal performances?
I know Landon's number 1's give me Donnie Darko.
Landon, this is your turn to leave a comment. Tell us how much you enjoy Donnie Darko and why it is the best Jake Gyllenhaal movie.
Sometimes I doubt your commitment to sparkle motion.